live review
And
for
co-host Movie Dude, Mark Castillo here, aka the Movie Dude, on my channel, Movie Dude Inc. Go check it out. We saw Grave of the
the
Fireflies.
Fireflies.
Okay, that's I'm not. We're not trying to be happy in
Yeah,
this moment because we literally just got done watching it like 5 minutes ago. It
I
is one
actually
of
watched it.
the
I watched it the first time with my
right.
brother.
It
This is my
is
second time.
It is one of the most important films you will ever see. I'm serious. It's probably one of the most important anime films in history for a very significant reason, and we'll get to why in a second. But this is my first time watching it. It was by Studio Ghibli. Uh, and if you know anything about Studio Ghibli, they did films like My Neighbor Totoro, Poco Loco, I think that's what it's called. Ponyo, Spirited Away, uh, Hayao Miyazaki. I think you know him. He did a lot of these type of movies. Secret
Yes.
World of Ariete, Kiki's Delivery Service. This one, Grave of Fireflies, was not directed by Hayao Miyazaki. It was directed
It
by somebody else.
it pulls in your heartstrings a lot.
I don't know his name right now, but it's under the Studio Ghibli banner, meaning that Studio Ghibli was involved in the making of this film. And okay, the plot of this movie is relatively simple. It's toward the end of World War II, and Siete and
Setsuko
Setsuko
and
and
same
Sent-
Seta.
Seta and
No, that's it. Those are two main characters
yeah,
for now.
Sete and I
Saito
have a hard
and
time pronouncing
Saito and
Japanese names.
Saito and Setsuko.
Setsuko and
Setsuko.
Setsuko
Setsuko.
Setsuko
Okay, and Saito.
Setsuko and Seta are brother and sister who they left their house
Sort of.
when these bombs start dropping. Their mom dies, but his sister doesn't know it. He's trying to keep it a secret because he knows that it will hurt her significantly.
Because
And
she's a very young girl.
she's 7, I believe. She's 7. He's the son of a Navy captain. And while his father is out to sea, his mom died because of the injuries that she sustained from these bombings. And now Sete,
Saito and Setsuko.
Seto and Setsuko are on their own. Well, they were living with her aunts, but then that they decided to go on their own, and that's the movie, really. It's actually semi-autobiographical. It was based on an article that was written by somebody who this was semi-autobiographical, meaning that elements of this person's life who
So what you
wrote
think
the
about the
original article.
story, the cinematography, editing? What you think about that?
See, in order to understand this movie, you have to understand its historical significance.
I have.
No, I mean from a Japanese point of view in World
I
War
know.
II. During World War II, and with the Nazis. Thus, anytime the Nazis were, so anytime there are all these propaganda shorts condemning the Japanese and the Nazis because the the Japanese were allies with the Nazis. So thus, after the attack on Pearl Harbor, that's when in December 1941, December 7th, 1941, that's when we entered the war. But we fought the Japanese because they were allies with the Nazis. So the reason why this is important is because this is showing the war from a Japanese point of view, meaning that innocent civilians are trying to live out their lives, and there's all these planes that go by, and they're getting bombed like almost all the time. And so by the time that World War II ended in 1945, by the time of the setting for this movie is roughly the end of World War II, so around July to August 1945. Hitler had just committed suicide at this point, but the Japanese wanted to continue fighting. but it took 2 atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. That was before Japanese finally surrendered, and thus that's the end of World War II. Now, why all of this is important is because Setsude and Cisco are trying Setsuko and Sete. Sorry, I have a hard time. I have a hard time pronouncing Japanese names. Setsuko and Sato are trying to make a life for themselves. The brother is trying to give his sister a decent quality of life. While there's a war going on, everybody around him is saying things like, how could you be so happy? How could you be so careless when there's a war going on? But the truth is that he doesn't want her to live in a world of fear. He doesn't want her to, well, for one thing, know that her mom is not coming back, but also they're trying to find meaning in life during a massive war going on. So it's trying to find life in the midst, trying to find beauty in the midst of chaos. And I think that's part of the reason why it's so emotionally powerful, because of the Japanese involvement in World War II, the war from a Japanese point of view. The only other time that I have seen the war shown from a Japanese point of view was the Clint Eastwood movie Letters to Iwo Jima, which focused on the Battle of Iwo Jima from a Japanese point of view. Okay, let's talk. I know I'm dabbling too much into the history, but there's a very important reason why this is significant, and that's because of how Japan was treated during World War II. So, about the movie, the music score is fantastic. It's so sweeping and mellow, sometimes very tragic. There's also the writing.
I know this was in your bucket list. I had to show it to you.
This movie had been on my list for years and years. I'd heard of this, but all I heard was that there are these bombs going off in Japan, and this brother and sister are trying to survive through wilderness. That's all I heard, but that wasn't really true. That was not true. It really was about a brother and sister trying to find a good quality of life in the midst of war. And I really am tempting to say anything for those of you who never heard of this movie, like I have. I don't want to spill the beans and just give everything away.
It's a very saddening film.
Let's put it this way.
Yeah, it'll definitely get to you a lot.
Let's put it this way. When you watch this film, make sure to watch something funny.
Get a lot of tissues.
Make sure you watch something funny immediately afterwards. I mean,
get some lot of tissues for this ride.
I mean, oh my god, I don't want to. Man, I don't want to spoil everything right now, but I just want to. It almost did. It almost did. It almost made me cry. I was this close to crying because I don't like the kind of movies that have like downer endings, because I feel like it leaves you on a very sour note. But there's a very fundamental reason why the movie is like that the way it is. Actually, part of the movie is told in flashback. So, we're shown what happened to the brother, and then we find out how he got there. So, it's a very depressing but also meaningful film. The characters are memorable. The story, even though there's not a lot of depth to the story, there's a lot of humanity to the story. It's like real. The story is good. Like it was trying to capture real life, where another Studio Ghibli film, My Neighbor Totoro, was a fantasy film that was very imaginative, and that was also very enjoyable. Actually, a little trivia: when this movie premiered in Japan in 1988. Which I know some people say 95, 93, but if you want to get technical, its Japanese premiere was in 1988 and its American premiere was 93.
Yes.
But anyway, when it
You
first
watched
came
the
out,
American version.
there's an English dub.
Yes.
When the movie premiered in 1988, it was paired. It was shown as a double feature with My Neighbor Totoro, and I'm like, that makes perfect sense. There's, I hope that Great Fireflies was the first movie shown, and then My Neighbor Totoro was shown second because of my Great Fireflies was shown next. Oh man, that would leave you on a sour note. But I was surprised by this one. I was very, I was captivated by it, and I don't watch too many animes.
Watching this a second time make this movie make me love it more.
Oh
Actually,
please, that was
make me love it more. First time I watched it, it's still a 10. Watching it the second time make me to increase the score to a 12 out of 12. Man.
Well, do you think it's better now that you know a little bit of World War II history?
Yeah, I still love it no matter what.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Saddening.
It's also very realistic too. Where My Neighbor Totoro was imaginative, and that was like a fantasy movie by comparison.
My friend,
this was like real life, and I commend them for trying to capture life as it really was in 1945 from Japan. Which, by the way, if you want to know the city name, it's Kobe, which I checked. And this is one downside I have of this movie. One downside. Kobe, the city where this movie takes place, is only 5 minutes. If you go on Google Maps right now, you don't have to do it right now, but just in the future. Kobe, where this movie takes place, is literally 6 minutes away from Hiroshima. Why they didn't show the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, I don't know. Because I feel like Kobe would have been immensely affected by that, obviously. But
this movie made me
I don't know why that was never referenced or even shown. I don't know. But
what would you give it?
But they did show the reactions of the citizens reacting to the Japanese surrender. So there's that.
So what would you give it for yourself?
I felt like they devoted a lot of time to the main characters. Like, you really get to know them. You actually get to be a part of their lives almost.
Journey.
It's crazy how he's trying to give her a good quality of life, or as decent of a quality of life as possible, while everybody else is in fear of being bombed the next day. And so it's more like these two characters are trying to find meaning in a sea of chaos. They're trying to find something to cling on to. And I feel like,
if you guys have not seen this movie, I definitely will recommend you guys to see this.
Please do. If this movie,
100% recommend it.
If you've only heard of this movie, but you don't know why people are talking about it in such high regard, please do yourself a favor and please go check it out. It's considered one of the greatest. Some people say it's an anti-war movie because of the disturbing portrayal of the side effects of war. I don't necessarily see it that way. I see it more as a war seen through the eyes of two characters who want to try and find meaning in their lives. And they, I guess it could be part anti-war. It could. But
so what would you give it for yourself if you think?
Oh, I give it like a 9.
For me, watching for the second time a lot. Last time I gave it a 10 out of 10. This time it's still the same score, but I'm gonna give it a higher score, like 12 out of 12. Still higher. I'm getting it higher, man. It's one of the best.
Oh, it's great.
It's beautiful, fantastic, good story, good actors, good cinematic. Good editing, good everything it has. Music is phenomenal. It's engrossing. You feel the pain and sorrow and everything. Wow.
It's emotionally gripping, but for the right reasons.
Yeah.
It's not like it's tugging at the heartstrings.
I don't want to spoil anything much to you guys because it's just hard to say.
Exactly.
I'm not going to.
No.
I recommend you guys to see and experience this for yourself and enjoy Grave of Fireflies and embrace the film and enjoy how wonderful this movie is and its beautifulness of the film for sure.
And
Definitely
also, I think
recommend.
you'll like the fact that it captures life, really, the lives from the point of view of these two characters, where everyone else sees hell and chaos and fear. These two try to see the world as um, try to find the good moments in it, in the midst of such chaos.
I amazing. I can't say nothing much about it. I don't want to
No, I
anymore.
think we're trying not to give too much
Yes,
away
but like I
because
said,
I don't
it's just hard to say more about it. Actually,
exactly. There's more to this movie than you think.
yes.
So go check it out, but be warned. You have to be in the right mood to watch it.
I get a lot of tissues for this.
You
Trust
can't
me.
just say, "Oh, I'm gonna watch Grave of Fireflies after a hard day of work." It's not gonna help you. Or if you're going through a hard time right now in your life, um, don't watch this movie. Avoid it at all costs. Do not watch it because it'll just make you worse.
Wait until we get
Wait
right
until you're in a you may be in a good
until
mood.
it gets sad again. Yes.
Wait until you're in a good mood, or maybe you're just in a mood for some real life drama.
Yeah.
Maybe. But just proceed with caution if you can. I think that's all there is to say.
Yeah, well,
on
yeah.
that.
Thanks, guys, for watching this live reaction of Grave of the Fireflies. Stay tuned for more reviews next time. And have a safe weekend as always, and have a safe day. Bye, guys.
Bye.